You know, sparring stories. Sometimes you got 4 guys in camp, they're doing 2 rounds in, 2 rounds out. You're losing weight, you're doing this, you're doing that. So, fuck it, we're gonna have a fight. I don't give a damn about all that.
Heard Moses Itauma was dropped in sparring. Did that rumor fall on your ears?
It did not, and it wouldn't really affect me. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't affect what I think of the fight. Getting dropped, once again, it's not the end of the world. People get dropped in fights, still win them. Getting dropped in sparring is what it is. Do you know what I mean? You just got to be able to dust off and
Mentioned that they heard that Moses Itauma was dropped in sparring. Had that rumor fallen your ears at all?
No, it's the first I've heard of that. News to me. But people get dropped in sparring, but it generally is news to me. I've not heard that before.
Dillian Whyte knows how to stir the pot, and he's doing it again. In the lead up to his showdown with 19-year-old heavyweight prodigy Moses Itauma, Whyte has zeroed in on a gym rumor that Moses was dropped in sparring. For Whyte A, it's the perfect ammunition. He mocks Moses relentlessly.
I'm being the best version I can be. You know, listen, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm not a child to run around. Gym story. Marvin Aguilera used to get dropped a lot in the gym. Never got dropped in the ring.
Twisting the story into proof that the teenager can't handle real pressure. He's turned the knockdown into a weapon, promising that when the bright lights are on in Saudi Arabia, he'll finish what the sparring partner supposedly started. It's classic Whyte A mind games, trolling and trying to rattle a young fighter before the biggest night of his career. But there's a problem with his angle.
Because that's only sparring. If you get dropped in sparring, means you're learning. Tomorrow morning you don't get dropped in the same shot. So him getting dropped in sparring, that means he's learning on the job. So it's okay. Who cares? Alexander used to get dropped in sparring, but he's learning on the
Sparring knockdowns don't define a fighter, and anyone who has spent time in a boxing gym knows that. Derek Chisora, never shy to fan flames, comes to Moses' defense. He doesn't deny the knockdown, but flips the narrative completely. For Chisora, those moments aren't weakness, they're fuel. He argues that getting dropped in sparring is part of growth, part of the journey every great heavyweight must go through.
Moses got 12 wins, with coming by as a fighter, This guy's got a bit of experience, so they give him Dillian. Let's see what happens.
True. To him, the story doesn't expose Moses. It proves he's learning, adapting, and sharpening his edge. That split in interpretation is the spark that lights the controversy. On one side, Whyte A weaponizes the story, promising a knockout under the bright lights. On the other, Chisora reframes it as a stepping stone for a young fighter.
When you sparred him, did you implement dog-style tactics to counter what he brought?
I tried. I definitely did. But he's a tough guy as well. So I think there's a different way to approach a Moses. I think, but that's not for me to say here.
Fighter destined for greatness. 2 heavyweights, 2 totally different takes, and now fans are split right down the middle. But Chisora doesn't stop there. He adds more fuel when pressed about Moses stepping into the ring with Whyte A. Chisora admits Moses looks sharper than most at 19, but frames Whyte A as old school, a veteran test unlike anything Moses has seen, and that creates the bigger controversy.
I'm hearing things that he's been dropped in the ring, in the gym and stuff like that. But that's okay too, because I took a couple spills, little slips in the ring, in the gym. That's okay, but we're going to see. This is going to be a good.
Is this fight a passing of the torch, a teenager smashing through a fading veteran, or is it a setup for Whyte A to bully a kid who's being pushed too quickly? For the boxing world, that question is loaded. History is full of prospects who were thrown in too deep, too early, but it's also full of legends who grabbed the spotlight before anyone thought they were ready. Lawrence Oakley tries to stay neutral when asked about the matchup, but even his words hint at deeper truths. He calls Whyte A tough. No surprise, but when he talks about Moses, he admits fighters need a completely different approach to deal with him. That's less praise for Whyte A and more like a warning. Even those who've shared the ring with Whyte A know Moses presents a unique problem. Oakley doesn't say it.
Put into looking and seeing what's the best thing to do.
There's another heavyweight fight on the bill in the form of Filip Hrgović and David Adelaide. A lot of talk about the step up that David is taking against Filip Hrgović.
Outright, but the implication is clear. Whyte A might not be ready for a fighter with Moses' speed, skill, and composure. Then there's Shannon Briggs, never one to miss an opportunity to shout, "Let's go, champ." The former heavyweight lights the fuse by confirming what everyone's whispering. Yes, he's heard Moses was dropped in sparring, but unlike Whyte A, Briggs refuses to paint it as weakness. Instead, he spins it into height. Even legends hit the deck in the gym. He reminds fans, pointing out that sparring drops mean nothing when the lights come on. The controversy deepens. White Day mocks. Briggs normalizes. Fans argue. Who's right? Promoter Frank Warren steps in with the voice of authority. He doesn't care about sparring talk. For him, the goal is clear. Moses doesn't need to prove toughness by...
I'm not really paying attention to main events. I'm not really paying attention to people talking, the noise and whatnot. I'm just going in there and doing my job.
Dragging fights out. He needs to showcase his raw talent. Warren insists the job is to destroy when the chance comes. Efficiency, skill, destruction. That's where the controversy flips again. Critics argue Moses is inexperienced, untested, but Warren frames dominance as the true sign of greatness. If Moses wipes White Day out in a round, Warren calls it proof of genius, not immaturity. Warren has guided countless champions. If he believes Moses can crush White in half a minute, the heavyweight landscape should tremble. Meanwhile, Moses himself silences the chatter the most mature way possible by ignoring it. White Day trolls, fans debate, pundits argue, but Moses stays locked in, eyes on the job, nothing else. And that's what terrifies his opponents. When a 19-year-old ignores hype and criticism alike, when he doesn't get pulled into trash...
He deserves to be here. And now he's been asking for these challenges, been asking for these opportunities. Now finally he's got it. You know, Saudi Arabia on a great card and obviously headlining. So it's now his opportunity, now his chance to show the world, like, this is Moses Itauma, this is who he is.
Trash talk. It's a dangerous sign. White Day thrives on noise. Moses blocks it out. Two completely different mindsets. Which one wins under the lights? Even within the Itauma family, the fire is burning. Moses' brother, Carol Itauma, speaks with conviction. This is Moses' moment. He's been chasing big names, demanding the spotlight, and now under the Saudi lights, he has it. Carol doesn't sugarcoat it. White Day thinks Moses is too green. Carol insists he's more than ready. Brothers don't hype lightly, and Carol frames this fight as destiny. Either Moses smashes White Day and announces himself as the heavyweight future, or White Day turns the script upside down. When pressed further, Carol goes deeper, dissecting Moses' mentality like a coach. He insists Moses isn't blinded by fame or obsessed with outcomes. He's focused on the process, stacking improvements, approaching the sport like an old soul. That's where the controversy...
He hasn't changed. And when you just take your time to really listen to him and kind of understand that it's not about the end goal for him, it's about the journey, not being outcome obsessed. It's about him taking it easy as it comes, learning, progressing, and really dialing in on those minor things, because at the end of the day, those are the things that actually add up and make the bigger picture. And he's taking it in his own stride. We all know that
he bites again. White Day thrives on chaos. Moses thrives on detail and patience. Which wins in the ring? Hamza Shiraz keeps it simple but adds gasoline to the fire. For him, the fight splits into two possible chapters. Moses blasts White Day out inside 4 rounds. White Day drags it late and makes things messy. Fans pounce on that prediction. Old school believers side with White Day's grit. New blood back. Moses' speed and explosiveness. 4 rounds of greatness or late round survival. Shiraz's comment doesn't cool the fire. It makes it burn hotter. Trainer Buddy McGirt echoes the old school mindset. For him, deep waters is the key phrase. Can Moses swim if White Day drags him late, or will he drown under pressure? That's the lifeline. White Day clings to experience, grit, scars. Moses hasn't earned yet, but here's the twist. Every time Moses has been tested, even in sparring, he's adjusted, learned, and come back sharper. Deep waters can...
I'll break it down 2 ways. Moses flattens him out within 4 rounds. If it goes after past four, I feel like it could get a little bit tasty. I don't know what will happen. I'm not leaning towards any other fighter, but before 4, I got Moses to flatten him out. But after 4, it could be a very, very interesting fight.
Drown a fighter, but they can also cleanse one. If Moses embraces that storm, he might not just survive, he might break Whyte Day's will in the very rounds Whyte Day thinks he owns. Then trainer Ben Davison drops the biggest statement of all. He calls Moses not just talented, but generational. That word carries weight. It doesn't just mean good, it means once in a lifetime. Generational fighters change the sport, set new standards, erase old ones. Davison believes Moses doesn't need to wait. His ability already transcends timing. Critics scoff. They call it hype, premature, promoter-driven talk. But Davison isn't a promoter. He's a respected trainer. That makes his words sting more for Whyte Day. It reduces him to a stepping stone in the rise of a teenage phenomenon. Fans erupt. Some echo Davison, pointing to Moses' footwork, composure, and IQ as proof. Others warn such words are dangerous if Moses gets humbled.
Yeah, it's got to go to the deep waters. You know, man, unless somebody slips up and get caught early. But, you know, we got to get him into the deep waters.
Either way, generational has become the buzzword. This fight isn't just about Moses versus Whyte Day. It's about proving or disproving that claim. Briggs circles back with another fiery take. He praises Moses' youth and power, but warns against underestimating Whyte Day. For him, this fight is the ultimate proving ground. Is Moses really the puncher fans claim he is, or has the hype been inflated? Whyte Day can't buy better promotion than that. An ex-champion reminding the world he's no pushover. Yet even Briggs can't hide his admiration for Moses' raw strength. His words keep both fires burning. Whyte Day as the threat, Moses as the nightmare waiting to be unleashed. And now, with hours left before the first bell, the stage is set. The noise is deafening. The split is real. Dillian Whyte, the old warrior, has turned every camera moment into a trolling session, reminding the world of his veteran grit. Moses Itauma, the teenage phenom, has carried the weight of being labeled generational, while shrugging off sparring rumors and staying locked in. This fight isn't just a contest, it's a referendum.
I don't think Moses needs to catch anybody at a certain point in their career or anything like that.
Why's that?
Because I think he's good enough. I think he's plenty good enough. I think he's a generational talent, and I think it's going to take time for everybody to see that. But I think everybody can see that he has the potential.
Moses wins. He doesn't just beat Whyte Day. He announces himself as the face of a new heavyweight era. If Whyte Day shocks the world, he flips the script and proves he's not done yet. It's a clash of eras, a battle of mindsets, old school versus new blood, trash talk versus tunnel vision, survival versus statement. The heavyweight division is watching. The fans are divided, and the only way to settle it is under the Saudi lights. So the question remains, who are you backing? The young lion Moses Itauma, or the old warrior Dillian Whyte Day? Drop your predictions, because when that first bell rings, the controversy ends and the truth begins.